It's one of the big stories we're still tracking for you in the Western Cape. Taxi body SANTACO says it's outraged that the city of Cape Town has impounded another 14 taxis since the strike was called off. This comes a few days after a taxi stay away in the Western Cape brought the province to a complete standstill and resulted in the loss of 5 lives. SANTACO is taking the legal route over this latest round of impoundments by the city. The question, of course, on commuters' minds this morning will be, is there going to be another strike? Let's unpack this further. We're joined this morning by the CEO of the Development Impact Fund and transport analyst Lorenzo Davids. It's great to see you this morning, Lorenzo, and I think the Cape Argus sums it up quite well with its headline on the front page this morning. No strike, but the taxi feud continues.
Yeah, absolutely. I alluded to the fact that the very settlement that the city announced and that SANTACO wrote very humbly about contained all the seeds of an ongoing conflict, and I don't think this thing is over at all at this point. For one, I think when people talk about a strike settlement, there's normally a cooling off period. There's normally something like a 48-hour period for both parties to inform their members as to what the settlement means and how it should work. For the city to go out immediately the next day and start impounding again means that this was a very, very, very poorly agreed upon settlement by both parties.
There's a leaked email that's been quoted in the Cape Argus this morning by the city's mobility department, and it speaks to exactly that issue. Essentially, the explanation given is that the message didn't filter down to everyone operationally, and that's why those latest taxis were impounded. Do you buy that?
Yeah, I think perhaps I don't buy it at all, because I think the sort of law and order message from the city is that they are not budging on that. I don't think it's a leaked message necessarily. I don't think members didn't get it. I think the whole culture shift hasn't happened within the city, that they are seeking to cooperate, work together, solve problems together. I think on the one hand, there's an agreement to sort of enforce you into a situation with them, and then on the other hand, whoever doesn't comply with immediate effect is just, in the case of the tax, is impounded again. Michelle, here's the thing that bothers me. Normally, strike settlement agreements, and especially in the transport industry and in other major industries, there's a joint agreement that is signed by all parties. There's a joint press statement signed by all parties, and that's announced and read out by all parties. There's a joint press that happens with all parties. None of those features of traditional settlements occurred in this thing. We didn't see any of that. The city read its own statement. COSATU published its own statement. Both parties spoke individually. There was nothing in common agreement that was announced to the public. And for all of us, as we sat up on Friday listening to this, we all went like, whoa, this is wrong. This is not going to last just a few days.
So, Lorenzo, let's this morning give the city of Cape Town the benefit of the doubt. And let's ask the question about, what you just mentioned, this focus on law and order that the city says it is committed to. Despite its agreements and negotiations with SANTACO, that is its primary objective, to ensure that commuters are safe and to ensure that there is law and order on the roads. There's something to be said about that and the importance of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, at a minimum, there should be roadworthy vehicles, PDPs in the hands of drivers, licensed drivers. There should be all of those fundamental features of a public transport operation enterprise. The fact that it's not there, again, is for SANTACO to enforce it with their members, and for owners to make sure their drivers are fully equipped to drive that vehicle. Nobody should be getting away from that. But when they say, hold on, we are going to review impounding, and our officers may be, doing it, too rapidly or enforce it too quickly, then that raises the questions about the whole practice of impoundment. Now, if there's a problem with the practice of impoundment, that's a training issue, that's an awareness-raising issue within the department, and that the city should have said, give us some time to talk to all our operational staff, to all our officers, to ensure that they understand how impounding must be done. The fact that that is not part of the agreement, again, is a failure on both parties to say, how long, Mr. Smith, will you need to inform your officers of what they should look for when they do impoundings? So yeah, there's there is this confusion around it right now, which is clouding what should be a very, very good settlement. It's not looking healthy at all. And let me say this. Law and order cannot be compromised at all. Not at all. But the fact that nobody had time to talk to their members and impoundments happen within a few hours after the settlement makes this settlement appear to be rather risky at this stage.
Yeah, it's that family member that you're forced to sit with around the dinner table, despite the very serious issues between you. Lorenzo, you and I talked about this when I was in Cape Town covering this story. And the question becomes, when we talk about law and order and enforcing the kinds of bylaws that the city has stood by insofar as the taxi issue is concerned, is to look at how many civilian vehicles were also impounded for the very same offences as the taxis.
Yeah. Look, we need to get that data. We need to be able to say, when you go to the impoundment yard, as COSATU alleges that there's more taxis there than any kind of private car. Now, are taxis the big offenders? Maybe they are. But is there, and this is the thing, is there an equitable application of the law when it comes to impoundments? Do we see that driver's licenses or drivers without, roadworthy vehicles are also their vehicles are also being impounded? I am not certain of that fact. And until the public is assured that there's an equitable application of the law, then it's going to appear that the taxis are simply being targeted and they are not treated fairly within a transport dispensation. Now, a greater weight rests on the taxis because they are public transport. They apply for public transport permits, and there's passengers whose lives are at risk if the vehicles are not roadworthy. But we need to see that data. We can't just sit here and talk about these allegations and nobody's bringing the data to the table.
Right.
And again, that should have been done in the agreement. It should have been settled when they came to the end of the strike.
Yeah. In the midst of all of this, there are many communities that are on tenterhooks this morning, right? Their fear is that they'll be in the same position they were in last week, walking along the N2, trying to find a way to get home. Community youth organizations spoke so eloquently in Mitchell's Plain over the weekend about SANTACO as well, using poor communities as bargaining chips in all of this.
Yeah. I was at that meeting and I listened to the Cape Youth Congress and others speak on this issue. And the community was phenomenal on Sunday at that meeting. Here's what the community told COSATU. You should not be acting against us. We are your ally for a better transport industry for poorer people. And it was amazing to see that conversation take place. The youth, the students, the learners who travel to school via taxis, they are the allies of the taxi industry. They are not the people SANTACO should be acting against. And what was very specifically that they also asked that SANTACO should not penalize them for using alternative options of transport when SANTACO's vehicles are not available. So there's a growing understanding in the industry of that these are partners in the transport process. They are not enemies. They are not choosing sides in this. And the community was very clear about that. What I think we need to get to is that the facilitation, the understanding of these issues are not as clear as what it's made out to be. And that's a big, big sadness right now because, yes, SANTACO said that they will get 2 interdicts. I don't know yet if it's happened yesterday. And I am questioning how everybody agreed that this was a great outcome when at the moment it's busy falling apart.
Lorenzo Davids, CEO of the Development Impact Fund, thanks very much indeed for joining us this morning.